Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today we've got a getting started with Age of Sigmar 3rd edition video for you, and today we're going to look at the Stormcast Eternals, and in particular the Knights Excelsior. Now the reason we're doing this is we're going to look at a Paladin focused army for the Stormcast Eternals. And what we're going to talk about first is we're going to talk about exactly how we get this and what we can do with it. And then we'll look at units we should start off with, units we can then expand into with this force, and then at the end of the video we'll give you a little sample army list to put it all together, and you can start making your own ideas on how to create an interesting force of Stormcast Eternal Paladins. So for starters, we're playing an elite Paladin focused army, and Knights Excelsior allow us to do this as it makes all our Paladin options battle line in this particular sub-faction. This is really cool because Paladins have a lot going for them. Now, and the Knights Excelsior also give some benefits to Paladins as well, as they allow one of our outnumbered Paladin units to get +1 to hit and wound per combat phase. This is amazing as Paladins already hit on 3s and 3s, so this is going to make any Paladin unit in the army hit on 2s and wound on 2s. Really, really strong. And so Paladins in general in this army are going to be quite MSU. We're going to want to be outnumbered when we're fighting units, so we're going to want to have units that are larger than us when we're fighting. This works really well for a shock and awe style army. You've got some great characters that allow you to bring units in closer to make those charges easier, and some types of Paladins as well have rerolls to charge built into them. Not only that, but I feel this is the truest type of Stormcast Eternal army. If you've read the narrative and lore about Stormcast Eternals, this is the army you want to play. This is going to have an army of heroes. You can make this army absolutely amazing to play on the tabletop as it just sort of goes in against the odds. It's outnumbered nearly every time it plays, and it's just going to hopefully go in and absolutely wreck face. Paladins have a great armor save of 3-up on most of them. Some of them even have a 2-up base, which is absolutely amazing. You've also got the ability to try and get some ward saves or get some additional mortal wound saves in there as well, and ways to sort of negate that, or you just go straight up and try and smash your opponent off the table. For me, this is a really fun Stormcast Eternal army to play. It's been the one I've been enjoying playing the most so far. And so let's get cracking on, and let's go check out a couple of units we can bring into the army to start with to sort of build our base, and then how we can expand upon this later. And so, first of all, the first unit I want to talk about is the Lord Imperator. I think this is a great hero to start out this force with. So, he's got a really cool ability where once per turn, if one unit's up in the heavens, he can bring that unit in 7-inch away rather than 9-inch away. This is a really strong ability that the Lord Imperator has for the army. Not only that, but he is a decent little fighty hero. The Lord Imperator has a decent profile for a hero of his size. He's got 7 wounds, a 3-up save base, he's got a ranged attack and his Stormcaller Baton, and then he does a decent amount of damage in combat as well. And he's also got the Distinguished Leader ability as well, where once per turn he can issue a command without a command point being spent. And Guided by Lightning, as mentioned, is the big thing. So once per turn, at the end of your movement phase, if he's got a unit up in the heavens, he can pick that unit as long as it's a Thunderstrike unit with a wounds characteristic of 3 or less, and when you use the Signs of the Storm ability to bring it on and set it up on the table, it can be 7-inch rather than 9-inch away. This is really great. He pairs it really well with some of our Paladins that are Thunderstrike, namely Annihilators. Now, the other unit I've talked about bringing in to start off with is you're going to need some units to sort of hold your home objectives, and you're not going to want to spend points on Paladins to do that. So I think Vindictors are a great starting unit to have alongside. Now, you could easily choose this to be whichever one of the sort of basic Redeemer units I think work really well for this to start off with. Whether it's Vindictors, Liberators, or Sequitors that you choose, you can play around with what you want to do depending on points. There's definitely some play in the list we sort of show at the end of this video. But I do think Vindictors are my favourite. That base 3-up save is really solid. It's going to make a great sort of home objective holder for you. And so then we're going to, of course, look at our Paladin units. So first of all, we have Annihilators. This is the Thunderstrike unit, and for me, this is the first unit that should be on your roster besides what we've already gotten. The thing that Annihilators do is they're going to be the Thunderstrike unit. The Lord Imperator can bring down 7-inch away rather than 9-inch. So this means that they're going to get that easier charge. Now, not only that, but they do have a built-in reroll charger. So this just sort of all works so well together. You could definitely just purchase multiple Annihilator units and bring them down one after the other. As long as you've got units on the table, you can keep doing this. So MSU Annihilators is definitely a great strat. However, I want to talk about the other Paladins as well, because I don't feel they get enough love. So first of all, we have Protectors. Protectors, big thing about them is they have a 3-inch range. This is amazingly powerful. 3-inch means you could be at the edge of your sort of combat range, you know, when you're fighting your opponent's unit and you're just within 3-inch. With that 3-inch range and your Protectors, it means you're probably going to get them all into combat with a Pile-In, because you've got that 6-inch range effectively with a Pile-In. It's really, really useful and strong. Like most, they've got 5 attacks, which is really awesome. And just puts so many attacks out there. They've got Ren 2, like a lot of the other Paladins do. I mean, 5 attacks, if you're using your ability when you're outnumbered, you could be 5 attacks at 2s and 2s, Ren 2, damage 1, which is pretty solid. Next up, we've got Decimators. Now, Decimators have 5 attacks base. However, instead of a 3-inch range, their big ability is when they're outnumbered, they already get 2 attacks extra. So this combines really well, again, with our Knight's Excelsior rule, where we're getting a +1 to hit and wound potentially. So we can have 7 attacks per model here at Ren 2 damage 1 on 2s to hit and 2s to wound. That's a really solid ability there, and really solid bunch of attacks. I mean, they're just going to put through so much damage with just those weight of dice there, and the good rend on them as well. And so the last Paladin option we have here are Retributors. Unlike the Protectors, they don't have the 3-inch range, and they don't have extra attacks when outnumbered like Decimators. But what they do get is they get mortal wounds on the hit roll of a 6. They get 2 of these in fact, and the damage sequence ends. They also have Ren 2 and damage 2 as a base profile for the damage weapon, so that's pretty nice as well. Some really solid output from the Retributors. Now, it should be mentioned as well that all of our Paladin units have a 3-up save base with the following exceptions. The Annihilators, if they've got the shields, have a 2-up base save, and Protectors get +1 to their save characteristic if they have more of the glaives than any other weapon in their unit. This makes both of those units extremely tough, or it makes, in general, a 3-up save being able to go to that 2-up is great for all of the Paladins. Now note, the only one that can actually get that mystical sort of 1-up save that ignores a point of rend before you actually start losing your 2-up save is the Annihilators with shields, as they are the only one with a 2-up save base. But there's also some other great options as well. So the other thing we get with the Paladins here is the non-Thunderstrike Paladin units, so Protectors, Decimators, and Retributors, get access to a weapon called the Star Soul Mace. The Star Soul Mace takes away from one of their other weapons. You don't get the other weapon, but what it does do is you roll a dice. On a 2-up, you do D3 mortal wounds. Depending on what you've got in your local meta, this could be a great weapon to have in some of your units. Generally, I find this is generally better in the Paladin units that don't provide mortal wounds. I find Protectors do pretty well with 1 or 2 of these as sort of your front rank units, making sure you keep these as like sort of your closest models so they get in range. And I think generally you get so many attacks with your Decimators, they're probably not the best option in there. And with your Retributors, mortal wounds is what you're really going for, so they can do quite well in them as well. And so here we have a little sample army list we've put together for the Stormcast Eternals Knight's Excelsior. So we're going for Grand Strategy, Sever the Head. I mean, this is just thematic for me. You're wanting to go slay your enemy's general, and I think most of the Paladin units can do this pretty well. Triumph, we've gone for Bloodthirsty for a rerollable charge. This is really great for our Paladin units that can't get the 7-inch drop, so for our unit that is not Annihilators in the army. And so for our general, we've gone for the Lord Imperator. He's going to have the command trait Shock and Awe. This makes a Paladin unit, or rather any unit when it comes down from the heavens, -1 to hit for that turn, which is pretty useful. So it means if we land that charge, our opponents are going to be a little bit hard pressed to sort of deal with us. He's got the artifact Amulet of Destiny, which is a base 5-up ward, one of the universal artifacts, which is really nice. This just keeps him alive that little bit longer on the battlefield, making sure he can sort of use his abilities around the table. 5 Vindictors are our main sort of battle line. They're going to be the one that sort of holds our home objectives. Meanwhile, our 2 Paladin units, which are going to be 5 Protectors and 3 Annihilators, are going to be the ones that drop from the sky and really do the damage to our opponent's forces. Annihilators are great here as they get the access to just mortal wounds when they come down, and they do mortal wounds on the impact and charge, and Protectors just put out a load of attacks and with those decent ranged weapons. You could play around with this list as much as you want here, really, with however you want to sort of work your Paladin units. There's definitely enough points to play around to make sort of any Paladin sort of combination work in this army. So if you've got particular Paladin units you like, maybe you want to run Retributors and Decimators, that's certainly something you could do. If at that point you're starting to not run Annihilators, the Lord Imperator maybe doesn't become as important. You can start looking at other sort of character options as your general, if that's what you wish. And then, I mean, the holy command here is Unleash Thy Hatred. Giving +1 attack to one of your Paladin units once per game is definitely one of the ones you're going to want to use. This can really just sort of push through some damage and make a ton of attacks. I really do find that maybe if you're going to swap, get a unit of Retributors in there, then with the extra attack and on 2s and 2s could be really quite devastating. The army comes in at 730 points out of 750, so there's a good chance we are going to get that triumph. No reinforced units and no allies, no surprise there. We are playing in an MSU style. 41 wounds and a 1-drop thanks to being in a battle regiment, so everything is a nice 1-drop army. If you've been playing with Stormcast Eternals so far, especially if you've been playing with Paladins and Knights Excelsior, I'd love to hear how you're going, what Paladins you're finding are sort of working for you, what ones aren't. Let us know in the comments below. Well, that's the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you'd like to, you can come over and chat more with us here at Sinful Gaming and our fine little community over on Discord. You'll find a link to that Discord in the description of the video. Lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel via Patreon and YouTube members. And if you'd like to help support the channel via Patreon or YouTube members, you can do so by one of the links in the video's description once again. But a special shout out to all our patrons: Christian Weir, James, Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lyle, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, and Dynet226. And another special shout out to our YouTube members: Greenridge Gaming, Kenton Young, Steve T, The Real Zeop, Chris Wallace, Turo12, Vinny, Lock Lorick, Matt Mollin, Becca Kinski Groupie, and the Johnny84. And lastly, a definite special shout out first of all to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel, and to Xmorphic, who does all the background work for our Discord server, keeping everything there running smoothly, because I am completely computer illiterate. Thank you very much. But that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe again. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.